choice.
It is Thursday, the 21st of January, 2021. The news is read by Merrano Isaacs. Good morning. A woman who is still coming to terms with the sudden death of her husband 2 years ago was on Wednesday plunged into mourning after her eldest son lost his life in an accident at number 23 Village, West Coast, Berbice. Dead is 29-year-old Andre Joseph of Lot 24, Manchester Village, Quarantine. Sharon Joseph was in shock when the Guyana Chronicle visited her. She had received the tragic news moments before the publication's arrival. She sat there as a relative who had traveled to the Fort Wellington Hospital, West Coast, Berbice, related that the father of 2 young children died in an accident around 4:30 while returning from a trip to Georgetown. Police stated that Joseph was heading east in a white Toyota Caldina wagon bearing registration number HB2975 when, as he approached the double turn at number 23 Village, he allegedly lost control and collided with a silver Toyota Premio bearing registration number HC7179. The Toyota Premio, which was being driven by Collis Johnson, 39, of Lot 73, number 53 Village, East Berbice, Quarantine, was heading in the opposite direction. Persons who arrived at the scene moments after the crash related that the road was wet and the impact resulted in Joseph being pinned in the vehicle. Rescuers had to pry open the twisted metal to get him out. Joseph, along with Johnson and the occupants of his vehicle, Ron Mitchell, aged 49, of 28 Village, of Lot 28, number 53 Village, and Hywan Williams, aged 29, of Lot 32, number 53 Village, were rushed to the Fort Wellington Hospital, where Joseph was pronounced dead on arrival. Johnson was later transferred to the New Amsterdam Hospital, and his condition is listed as stable. The other passengers were admitted for observation. One of the dead man's relatives told the Chronicle that he had been plying the Georgetown to Berbice route as a taxi driver for almost 10 years. He was on his way home when he met his demise. He was described as a hard-working person who took care of his family. Joseph leaves to mourn his mother, reputed wife, and 2 children ages 2 and 4. A breathalyzer test conducted on the drive of the second car returned a reading of 0 micrograms. An investigation into the incident is in progress. The field hospital donated to Guyana by Qatar to support the country's fight against COVID-19 will now be established at the National Infectious Diseases Hospital at Liliandale, Greater Georgetown. The hospital, which arrived on Tuesday, was initially earmarked for the West Demerara Regional Hospital. On Wednesday, however, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony noted that the ministry later realized that the West Demerara Hospital does not have the number of personnel that would be required to staff the facility. Additionally, this hospital already has some diagnostic infrastructure. The field hospital is expected to be established in the compound of the Liliandale Hospital, which was formerly the location of the Ocean View Hotel. The field hospital is equipped with 60 beds that are able to manage both critical and non-critical patients. 20 of those beds can be used as intensive care unit or ICU facilities, since they are replete with monitors and ventilators to treat critically ill COVID-19 patients. The 20 ICU beds would add to the Liliandale Hospital's existing 25-bed capacity. This means that the capacity to treat critically ill COVID-19 patients will be almost doubled. Last year, President Irfan Ali engaged the Emir of Qatar, His Royal Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, where a commitment was made to provide Guyana with a portable field or military hospital and ventilators. The donation of this field hospital is part of a growing relationship between the 2 countries. Guyana is expected to establish an embassy in Qatar soon. And now we turn to news from the region. The international contingent of Cuban health professionals who worked alongside Belize's public health officials over the past 10 months have completed their tour of duty. A new group of 29 medical professionals from Cuba is expected to arrive in Belize on Thursday, January 21st. That's today. The Ministry of Health and Wellness said the Ministry of Health and Wellness held a small farewell ceremony to show its appreciation to the Henry Reeve Brigade. Members of the departing medical group arrived in Belize on March 25, 2020, as part of an offer by the government of the Republic of Cuba to provide support to several countries in their response efforts to the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the outbreak of the pandemic in Belize, the Cuban government has assisted Belize with 59 health professionals who were stationed at various health facilities across the country to help with the management of the pandemic. The Minister of Health and Wellness, Michael Chabat, expressed Belize's gratitude and appreciation for all the work and support given by the members of the Henry Reeve Brigade. He also thanked the Cuban government for this cooperation offer, especially at a time when Belize, along with many other small countries, were faced with unprecedented challenges that came with new diseases that continues to evolve and one nations continue to learn about daily. Present to bid the group farewell and to provide parting remarks were Ambassador Amalia Mai, Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Dr. Daisy Mendez, Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and His Excellency Lizette B. Perez Perez, Ambassador of Cuba to Belize. And now international news. U.S. President Joe Biden has begun to undo some of Donald Trump's key policies hours after being sworn in. In his initial acts as the 46th U.S. President, he signed 15 executive orders, the first to boost the federal response to the coronavirus crisis. Other orders reversed the Trump administration's stance on climate change and immigration. President Biden set to work at the Oval Office, having been sworn in earlier on Wednesday at the U.S. Capitol. The inauguration was unlike any other due to coronavirus restrictions, with few present to witness the oaths and ceremonies. Donald Trump, who has still not formally conceded the presidency to Mr. Biden, snubbed the event in a departure from long-standing precedent. A star-studded concert has marked the beginning of Joseph Biden's presidency, with performances from Foo Fighters, Katy Perry, Demi Lovato, and Bon Jovi. The theme of the concert was not celebration, but unity, with tributes paid to the frontline workers who have borne the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic. Tom Hanks, who hosted the show, said, "This day is about witnessing the permanence of our American ideal." Bruce Springsteen kicked off the event with his song Land of Hope and Dreams. Standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., the lyrics of the song, first performed in 1999, reflected the aspirations of the new administration. The star sang, "Leave behind your sorrows, let this day be the last. Tomorrow there'll be sunshine, and all this darkness past." Standing in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., Hanks told viewers the U.S. had witnessed deep divisions and a troubling rancor in the last few weeks. But tonight, the 64-year-old continued, "We ponder the United States of America, the practice of our democracy, the foundations of our republic, the integrity of our Constitution, the hopes and dreams we all share for a more perfect union." He added that every 4 years, we hear the words that will empower us all on the journey ahead, a message that can unite us as we begin a new passage from where we are to where we can be, a trek to a common goal, to the promise of our promised land. Several users on social media picked up on how cold Hank looked in the low temperatures of nighttime Washington in January. Author Professor Tom Nichols joked it's a terrible irony that after surviving all those years on that tropical island, that Tom Hanks is going to freeze to death in the middle of a major city. Others suggested a prediction previously made on The Simpsons that Hanks would address the nation during a moment of national chaos had now come true. In 2007's The Simpsons movie, an animated Hank says, as part of a TV advertisement, "The U.S. government has lost its credibility, so it's borrowing Some of Mine. The sitcom, which had been running for more than 3 decades, has developed a reputation in recent years for making canny predictions about news and pop culture events, including the election of President Trump. Nearly 2 million people in the UK have received the first dose of a COVID vaccine in the past week, government figures show. By the end of Tuesday, 4.61 million people had received their initial jab, up from 2.64 million the week before. The government is aiming to offer a vaccine to all over 70s, the extremely clinical vulnerable, and healthcare workers by mid-February. Matt Hancock told MPs we're giving 200 vaccinations every minute. 65 new vaccination centres are due to open in England on Thursday, including a mosque in Birmingham and a cinema in Aylesbury. It comes after scientists warned of immense pressure on the NHS after a study showed a rise in infections in the community at the start of the latest lockdown in England. The UK recorded another all-time high of daily coronavirus deaths on Wednesday. A further 1,820 people died within 28 days of a positive COVID test, according to government figures, taking the total number of deaths by that measure to 93,290. The Health Secretary told MPs on Thursday that more than 5 million doses had been given to 4.6 million patients and said the country had an immense infrastructure in place that day by day is protecting the vulnerable and giving hope to us all. And now the world of sport. With the June 19th AP Invitational added to the World Athletics Continental Tour, Ali and Pompey, the event's organizers, believe it will fit perfectly on the international calendar since it allows enough time for athletes to not only get in shape, but also use the Games as their gateway to the Tokyo Olympic Games. In 2016, the inaugural AP Invitational saw 11 athletes, all overseas based, qualifying for the Rio Games, and this time around it will be no different. According to Pompey, the confirmed date for the AP Invitational is late enough to give athletes a chance to get into peak shape, and that's well within the qualifying window for the Olympic Games. Pompey highlighted that the AP Invitational continues to be, and I quote, great resource for our region, being one of the limited regional competition in the World Athletics Continental Tour. In talking with athletes and their agents, interest is substantial as they monitor the quickly changing travel restrictions and protocols to make it a reality. The 2020 AP Invitational had to be postponed, but almost like everything else following the advent of COVID-19 in Guyana. But while some events, more specifically in the Caribbean, are moving to the stage of cancellation, Pompey said that she's thrilled that she can move forward with this year's AP Invitational. England captain Joe Root expects a stronger challenge from Sri Lanka when the second and final test in Gala begins on Friday. The tourists won the first test by 7 wickets, thanks mainly to dismissing the home side for 135 on the opening day. England have made one change to their side, with pace bowler James Anderson coming in for the rested Stuart Broad. Root told the BBC, "I expect them to come at us really hard. We expect them to play really strong cricket. They have some match winners and we expect a real challenge." Sri Lanka steadily improved as the first test progressed. They took England's last 6 first innings wicket for 49 runs, then posted 359 in their second innings. With England chasing 73 for victory in their second innings, they were reduced to 14 for 3 before being taken to their target by Johnny Bairstow and Dan Lawrence. And finally, to end this newscast, this story. At first, the satellite images appear to be of grey blobs in a forest of green splotches, but on closer inspection, those blobs are revealed as elephants wandering through the trees. And scientists are using these images to count African elephants from space. The pictures come from an Earth observation satellite orbiting 600 kilometers or 372 miles above the planet's surface. This breakthrough could allow up to 5,000 square kilometers of elephant habitat to be surveyed on a single cloud-free day. And all the laborious elephant counting is done via machine learning, a computer algorithm trained to identify elephants in a variety of backdrops. Dr. Olga Ispova from the University of Bath said, "We just present examples to the algorithm and tell it, this is an elephant. This is not an elephant. By doing so, we can train the machine to recognize small details that we wouldn't be able to pick up with the naked eye." The scientists looked first at South Africa's Addo Elephant National Park. University of Oxford conservation scientist Dr. Isla de Pork said it was a high density of elephants and it has an area of thicket and of open savanna, and it's a great place to test our approach. While this is a proof of concept, it is ready to go. And conservation organizers are already interested in using this to replace surveys using aircraft. Conservationists will have to pay for access to commercial satellites and the images they capture, but this approach could vastly improve the monitoring of threatened elephant populations in habitats that span international borders where it can be difficult to obtain permission for aircraft surveys. And that's your newscast this Thursday morning, the 21st of January 2021, with special credits to Guyana Chronicle, Caribbean News Global and the BBC. For these stories and more, do visit our website at www.realfmgy.com.